Hi, this will be the third medical talk. It will be about the brain. The nervous system is divided into the periphery nervous system called the PNS, which is in the body, and the central nervous system, which is in the brain and spinal cord. There are three levels of the CNS: the brain, spinal cord, and the higher brain, the lower brain, and the spinal cord. The higher brain is involved in conscious activities. The lower brain is involved in subconscious activities. So the things we don't know that we don't know are happening is done by the lower brain, and the spinal cord receives instruction from the brain to tell the body. Just to recap about neurons, there are 6 levels of neurons. So if you see the top part is like dot dot dot, this granular shape, it slowly branches out to the bigger neurons and it flows into the long neurons to the body. So there are many different shapes of neurons. So these are the different parts of the body that control the body, a part of the brain that control the body. So one is the motor cortex. The area in green color is the primary motor cortex. It controls the hips, legs, feet, arms, trunks, fingers, thumb, neck, lips, jaw, mouth, all, and it controls the hand. Whereas on the blue color is the somatosensory area. This is where signals come from the body to the brain. The green is the signals from the brain to the body. So this is we can see here. Then there's on the left hand side is the sensory areas. So different part of the brain we can see different. If we look from the top view, we can see different parts of the brain control different parts of the body. This is a sensory the sensors. Whereas the motor cortex is on the right hand side of the right picture. So for example, if you see it starts from the toes, control the ankles, the knee, the hip, the trunks, the shoulders, etc, etc. Next, we will learn about the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is basically the higher brain. Scientists have been studying this for a lot. Scientists have been spending a lot of time to study this, but they are still unsure about a lot of its functions. It is estimated that there are 80 billion neurons inside the cerebral cortex, and it connects with the lower brain to form one unit. Later we will see how it connects with the lower brain, but let's see some of the areas first. So this is the different areas. So first is Wernicke's area. Wernicke's area is language comprehension. It's so that we can understand the words that we are reading. Not only that, but this Wernicke's area is very important to help us retrieve memories stored other places of the brain. That is why when we read, when we read a lot of books, every time we read, we recall, we get new memory, we recall our old memories. I find that every time I read, I recall things that happened in the past. The Broca's area is the word formation. When we want to speak, how do we form words? There's a Broca's area. And then this is the auditory area. When we want to speak something, it comes from the auditory. And below the auditory is the limbic association area. This is where we have our feelings, our emotions, our behavior, our motivations. So why some people like music, why some people like art, why some people like different sports, all this, the motivation come from the limbic association area. So the front is for mathematics, legal, moral, right and wrong decisions, for calculation, for logic. And it also controls complex motor movement. So if you are doing like you are playing a musical instrument that is very complicated, it will be done by the front part, and the back part is for visual. So the eyes will transfer the signals to the back to interpret what we are seeing. Then we go on to the facial recognition. So facial recognition is taking up a very big space at the bottom of the brain, just next to the limbic association area. So it's next to the feelings. So when we see faces, it makes us feel a certain way, right? That's why it is next, the facial recognition is next to the feeling area. So it tells us how to look at faces, how to look at body language, who we can trust. Okay, now we go on to the dominant side. 95% of all people have a dominant left brain because they are right-handed people, and right-handed people are born with a slightly larger left brain. So after using the left brain for more often, their left brain become more dominant. And 5% have dual dominance, but only very few have a right brain dominance. Then this is movement of signals when speaking. It comes from the auditory area, it goes to the Wernicke's area, it goes to the Broca's area, and then it goes to the motor cortex to control the mouth. Whereas if we are speaking a written word, it's the same movement, but it starts with the visual, the back area. Visual area, Wernicke's, Broca's, motor cortex. So what are long-term memories? Long-term memories are actually physical structures of the synapses that have been formed in a specific way. There are 4 ways that long-term memories can be formed. One is increased secretion sites, which means there are more sites secreting the neurotransmitters. So when there are more sites, then you get new memories. Or the second way is if more neurotransmitters are released, maybe because last time only got 1 neurotransmitter released, now you got 2 neurotransmitter released, right? Neurotransmitter was explained in the previous talk. So number 3 is because axon and terminal branches, there are more branches, so you get more memories. Or number 4 is because the dendrite branches increase. Okay, so the second point is axons will die if they don't form connections. If they are not used for a long time, it will be lost due to insufficient activity. So it takes about 5 to 10 minutes of consolidation to form short-term memories and 1 hour or more to form long-term memories. That's why in the end of this slide, in the end of this presentation, I will make a conclusion so we can consolidate what we have learned. Hippocampus. What is the hippocampus? It is the lowest part of the brain here. And it is is below the hypothalamus and the thalamus. People who have damaged the hippocampus have amnesia. That's what they found. Amnesia means they cannot create new memories. Okay, unable to create. Dementia is the most common form of amnesia. In dementia, sometimes they can recall old memories, but they cannot form new ones anymore. Okay, why? Because the hippocampus is the most important pathway for the feeling portion, which is the limbic association area. From the feeling, it has to pass through the hippocampus to reach the Wernicke's area and the other areas. So it shows a linkage from the feeling to memories, right? So our memory, and we want to, why is it like that? It's because we want to remember something that we feel strongly about. If the thing is not happy or is not unhappy, then there is no reason to remember it, right? So and this is why when we want to remember something, we normally think about the feeling that we had last time, the feeling it made us felt, then we can remember it. And lastly, the hippocampus is also able to retrieve information, to retrieve memories. Yeah. It is not just storing memories, but it's also search and find the memory. So in conclusion, we learn about the functions of the lower and upper brain and how they work together, right? How feelings affect the motor cortex, for example. When we want to speak, starts from the lower brain to the upper brain, for example. Then we saw there are 6 layers of neurons in the brain. Right, they are the small granular neurons up to the long neurons. And then we saw which part of the brain connects to which part of the body. Right, the motor cortex and the somatosensory cortex. We learn about the different parts of the cerebral cortex, like the Wernicke's area, what it does, what the Broca area does. We learn about facial recognition. Then we learn about the limbic association area, how the feelings come from which part. Then we learn about the dominant side of the brain, how 95% of people have the left side as dominant. Then we learn how the signals move when we are speaking, how it comes from the audible area, goes to the Wernicke's, goes to the Broca's, goes to the motor cortex. And then we learn how memories are formed and why we need to exercise the brain, otherwise we will lose the memory. And then we learn about the function of hippocampus, how memories are linked with feelings. In conclusion, the last point is we can see we are blessed with a brain. The brain is there for us to use, so we should appreciate the brain and make use of it. Okay, thank you.